Very much. Let me go to the agenda then. Mr. Secretary, what's the first item on the agenda?
The first item, sir, is consideration of Bill 44-24. This is an administration bill related to the employees' retirement system. I believe Matt Carpenter, Deputy Director with OBF, is on.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carpenter?
Yeah, actually, Councilman, if it's all right, it's Kevin Reed here.
Sure.
I'll take this one. We have
Absolutely.
four
Sorry about that,
readings.
Terry.
No problem. And then Mr. Carpenter will take it for the July 1 meeting. But Bill 4424, this is a request from the administration that is a result of our ongoing labor agreements for FY25. I want everyone to be aware that there are changes to this bill coming, as some of the agreements are still in process of being finalized. This bill will have amendments between now and final passage, and as information is finalized with labor groups, we will submit the appropriate amendments. This bill does three things that I will outline, and I will note areas that will most likely be amended. We have to put this in for the July 1 vote, as it's important to get all these changes in for the changeover of the fiscal year for our retirement system so the pension can appropriately administer any agreed upon benefit changes. So first, I'd like to start with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 25. These are our deputy sheriffs who are on pay schedule 13. What this section does is increases the accrual for retirement for deputy sheriffs retiring with less than 20 years of credible service for members hired prior to July 1 of 2007 from a split benefit that includes the 55th denominator for service prior to July 1, 2007, and the 70th denominator for service on or after July 1, 2007, to changing it to the 55th denominator for all years of service. Since the majority of these pre-July 1, 2007 members have already reached 20 years of service, there would be no cost impact for those members. Likewise, this for deputy sheriffs, it will also increase the accrual for retirement for deputy sheriffs with less than 25 years of credible service for those hired on or after July 1, 2007, from the 70th denominator to the 55th denominator for all service years. These members would pick up the cost of this benefit through increased contribution rates of 2.3%, which will go into effect July 1. Over time, the cost of this will be near zero in today's dollars for the county system with these increased contributions. The second area is the IFF Local 1311, which is our fire labor group. And at this time, subsequent to the submission of this bill, the union has voted down this contract. So this is something that will be removed from the final bill, most likely unless there is an agreement made between now and the appropriate time of the deadline. So we will be striking anything related to fire, most likely. And finally, the Fraternal Police Lodge 4, this is our FOP Lodge 4, pay schedule for police officers. What was agreed upon out of the union negotiations was a change. This is related to disability for the minimum disability percentage from 50% of average final compensation to 66.67 for police officers retiring with an accidental disability. The bill as submitted references that members will pick up 0.05% of the 0.05% cost of this benefit through increased contributions, and the remainder would be covered by the county. This will be amended to reflect no increased contribution for the police department in this section. That ultimately, that was in order to make this more cost neutral. The FOP4 gave up an increase to their gun allowance. So this will be amended as well. So there's two main amendments that we're working on. Again, this we will have these submitted in the requisite time frame, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Are there any questions from any of the members? Okay, seeing none, I know we have at least one speaker, Mr. Rose, president of the FOP Lodge. Mr. Rose, happy to see you here.
Mr. Rose, you are a panelist. Councilman, he is on
Yes.
as a panelist. I'm not sure if has joined the meeting, but He does not have a microphone. I'm not sure how he's linked onto the meeting. He may want to get off of the meeting and get back on. Try logging back in.
Okay. We can. Yes, Dave.
I have a question while we're waiting.
Yes, Councilman Ertel, and Chris, can we try to get him on the call while we hear from Councilman Ertel?
Certainly, Mr. Rose, if you are there and you can hear us, please try logging off and logging back on. We're unable to hear you.
Very good. Councilman Ertel?
Yes, so Director Reed, couple questions. There's a note here that says all three sections of Bill 4424 together would result in an increase of the county's FY 2026 contribution to the ERS of approximately $324,000. Over the next 15 years, the county would contribute an additional $3.1 million in today's dollars. What is our current contribution total in the ERS that we make now?
Oh, the current, if you just give me a second, Miss Councilman, I think I can pull that up unless Mr. Burrows has a figure on the top of his head. Give me 1 sec, I can get this.
I think it's 200 million, Kevin.
200 million?
Yeah.
So this is 300.
This is why I have paper everywhere in my office. I think the FY 25 budget for the ERS contributions was $180 million, 180.5. Actually, yeah, so that was the ERS contributions. We also do make contributions on behalf of the Board of Education and Revenue Authority for those in our membership system. I think that actually comes out to closer to 199 million.
Okay.
When you add in those component units.
Okay, so this isn't a very large increase to the contribution at 324,000.
Just to repeat, you said this is, can you repeat that? I didn't quite hear.
I said it's 324. Sorry, I'm coughing it out here. 324,000 isn't that big of a change to 199 million theoretically.
Yes, theoretically. I mean, with this, this is again the cost of doing business and that come out of labor agreements that we have to take into consideration impacts that it does have on the retirement system, any enhancements. But again, as you can see, there's been efforts to make these cost neutral, and that members are willing to increase their contributions to this to get some of these benefits as well. So it's a balancing act.
Could you also explain the 913? There's a line above it about it says Plan B firefighter payroll. Or 913,929. What is that figure?
So this is the estimated OPEB impact of a Plan B firefighter payroll that because this would ultimately potentially result in some retirees leaving early, that there would be impact to our retiree benefit trust or OPEB. But again, that this section is most likely going to be amended to remove from the bill. So these dollars may lessen by the time of final passage.
Okay. This is where you said they voted against it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Catch.
Yeah, thank you. Kevin, with the situation with the sheriffs where they're going to be given the option to, or they will be switching from the 70 to the 55 retirement system, those that were hired after a certain date. And you said that their contributions would go up by 2.3%, and that the fiscal note would be revenue neutral. Is that, or it'd be neutral as far as cost to the county? Is that correct?
That is correct, Councilman.
Now, what about the other employees in the county who were hired after that? I think it was about 2007 or 8, something like that. What about those that are in the 70 system? if they were to be willing to contribute 2.3% more, would would the fiscal note still be zero?
No, I do not believe so. So, we have to account for that these, again, specifically that they have to have a certain amount of service time, 20 years of credible service prior to July 1 and 25 years of service after July 1. So, we're not moving the time back to the 55th in total. And because we have such a small population and because a lot of these deputy sheriffs, are in second careers, and again, a lot of them already meet that denominator, and they have less service time, that the fiscal impact is minimal for these groups. If this were opened up to, the larger general county population, there would be a lot different costs that would have to be run.
Can you explain again why the fact that the 2 point, okay, can you explain again why the fiscal note is zero? I'm sorry, I just didn't get it.
Yeah, so if you look at the first section, since a majority of the July 1, 2007 members, they already have 20 years of service. So by changing this wouldn't change anything as far as that. But those that hired on or after, they would pick up that increase in between that time frame that would, require them to put in additional money into the system to make it cost neutral to the county.
Is the additional cost calculated from the past years in the 70 system and to today, or what?
It would be for the Plan B folks going forward, which is hired after July 1, 2007.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman Catch. It looks like Councilman Patoka's on, correct?
Yes, can you do I have audio?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. I apologize for
Have an
these,
echo.
technical difficulties. I had a bad charger, so fortunately I located my wife's charger. Okay, so we're through with 4425 and moving to 4525. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we tried to reach Mr. Rose, but could not reach him.
Okay. Well, let's go to 45. Well, first, let me just say thank you, Councilman Marks, for pinch hitting. And why don't we move to 4524? And I believe that is the bill related to impact fees. And who do we have from the administration to speak about this?
Mr. Gutwald, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Let's bring Mr. Gutwald forward.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. Bill 4524 amends the method of calculation and the timing of collection of development impact fees for new residential development. As you are aware, the current regulation requires the collection of impact fees for new residential development at the time of settlement, and also based on the price for gross sales for the sales price of the house. This has become problematic in collecting the fees, to say the least, at the time of settlement. So the new proposal is to be in line with a lot of the neighboring jurisdictions and collect the method of calculation set at $1 per square foot, as well as at the time the building permit application is made. This will assist us in collecting the impact fee in a timely fashion and on a regular basis, and an area where we can control when it comes in and goes out. The benchmark for the price per square foot was utilized with neighboring jurisdictions, and it kind of places Baltimore County in the middle of the pack of some of the major jurisdictions like Anne Arundel County, Montgomery County, Prince George's, and Howard County. So that's all there is to this bill, and I'll open it up for any questions you may have.
Do any of the members have any questions, comments, or thoughts to share with Mr. Gutwald?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead, Councilman Marks.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gutwald. So your office basically did a review of comparable fees in other jurisdictions, correct?
Yeah, I think actually I'll give OGA that credit. Office Government Affairs did the benchmarking on other jurisdictions. So yes.
Yeah, I bring up that point because we heard a lot during the discussions about school overcrowding, how we needed to look at other jurisdictions, and I'm very happy you were able to do that sort of that analysis. So thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any additional members have any questions, comments, or thoughts to share, Mr. Gutwald?
I had one question, Chair. If I could.
Councilman Patel.
So Director Gutwald, currently, we're not collecting these fees, or we're having trouble collecting, what?
So we
what's
have,
the difference?
the issue is that we don't really know when they go to settlement. So we don't, the timing of when they go to settlement and when we actually know. So we are flagging the permits that are required to pay the impact fee. As you know, there's a lot that are grandfathered. So it's sort of a manual process to identify which permits are have applicable impact fees, and we're notifying OBF. The problem is that we really don't know when they are actually going to settlement. So we're relying on them to provide us those lien sheets to OBF. And we just we haven't seen any coming across. The other issue is that you have, the one thing that we are noticing that there are transfers, but it's transfer of the property. So it looks like it is somebody has bought the property and they built the house themselves. So there is no settlement. But there's still, the impact fee is still applicable to them. So there's a combination of situations is why at building permit and not based on the gross sales price of the property. That way it'll be more efficient and effective in collecting the impact fee.
Did you need the phone?
So I don't know if Director Reed wants to talk about, the process in OBF, but we are identifying which fees are applicable for the impact fee. They are looking at seeing when those things are coming to settlement, and it's just been very difficult to say the least. And as you see on our reports, we're reflecting very little to no impact fees being collected for the past 3 years.
Okay.
Any additional questions for Mr. Gutwald?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilman Cash.
yeah, Pete, do we, for the last 3 years, do we know which new homes have gone to settlement and owe these fees that have not been paid?
The only thing I can be certain of is I know which ones we've issued a permit for, or they've made application for a permit. That's the only thing I can be certain of.
Now, so you could track down for the last 3 years which ones have gotten the permit. Would it be worthwhile to try to collect fees that should have been paid?
We are investigating that we met with OLL and OBF, and we're trying to figure out a way to do that. But yes, we are not giving up on those. That's sir.
So
Yes,
does
we
that,
are investigating.
so does that mean that people who bought their homes a year, 2 years, 3 years ago may end up owing money and not know it?
That is a possibility. That's why we're discussing it with law office as to how how that would work, and if we are outside our realm or scheme. So we are looking into all of those questions.
Now,
We don't know if they went to settlement or not. That's the problem with a number
right.
of these.
Now, if they've gotten an occupancy permit, I assume they've gone to settlement.
Yeah, that's one thing we are looking into and tracking to see if there's an occupancy permit associated with the building permit.
Can you give me a ballpark number as to how much money we're on the average for each homeowner?
Well, I think in our report, homes are selling somewhere around almost $400,000. So take 1.5% of somewhere around $400,000.
So that's
That's the average. That's the average medium house price home selling in Baltimore County. I think we looked at calendar year 23.
So some people may end up with a bill of $6,000 or $6,000 that they are not aware of.
I don't know if it'll be that high, but yeah, it's somewhere around there. Yep.
Wow. That's gonna be a shocker.
That's why I'm trying to change it. That's why a settlement table is a big, it's tough to hit somebody at the settlement table. That's why it's at building permit application and it sets the expectation up front.
And I guess you have no idea as to how many homes have, or I guess condominiums as well, where the fee was not collected. You have, I mean, are we talking about
Yeah, I
100?
don't know. I know how many units there are out there that it was applied to. I just don't know how many, have gotten to settlement at this point. So I'd have to look at that number again. It's not a lot, to be honest with you, because there are so many exemptions from the impact fee.
Do you know the number?
I want to say somewhere around 200 units.
Okay, so well, some people, it's not good,
Across all 3 years I'm talking about too.
right,
Yeah.
right. Now, if this issue was not brought up at the settlement, would these people know about this fee? What would they have known?
They should have known because it is identified when, we do note that with every development plan, and we do note that impact fees may be subject to this property when we issue the permit. I think it's when we issue the permit. We try to make them aware that impact fees may be applicable to this house. But not that everybody reads all that, obviously it's the builder who's pulling that. It's not necessarily the homeowner, but we try to educate people as much as we possibly can.
Is this the developer who is notified? Or, of course, I would assume that
It's the developer and the applicants. So the applicant might be the builder as well.
right. So,
Not necessarily the house, the purchaser of the house.
so it's possible, I guess, that some of this money would be coming from the developer unless the developer were bankrupt or out of business.
That is something we have to figure out if we're going to go back and collect it. We have to figure out what is the legal mechanism to do that.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify, Mr. Gutwell, the conversation, and I appreciate Councilman Catch's, because the situation you've been discussing is the current one, right? That's
correct. Yeah, current, right. It's
right.
when it's at settlement, right.
The bill is intended to prevent this type of uncertainty / having to go back after the fact.
Correct. Absolutely. Yep. That's what I'm trying to correct.
Excellent. Thank you. Just wanted to appreciate it.
And my concern is for those people who got caught the last 3 years, well, not caught in essence, and surprise, you owe this, X number of dollars, or whoever is responsible for it. So that was my concern. And it's still a concern of mine, and just the legality of it, and et cetera, and exactly who was notified ahead of time that they're going to owe this fee. I mean, if it's the developer and the developer gets the requests the permit, et cetera, there's the person who ultimately buys the home. Is that the person that's going to be charged this fee, or will it be the developer? These are the kinds of questions that, Pete, I understand that your office is looking into, correct?
Right. And I'm telling you, I know Director Reed and I had a conversation and this is probably 6 months ago. It wasn't a lot of money when we looked at it. But your point's well taken. I mean, that was my concern from the beginning about, people with what's this extra fee I have to pay at the settlement table. But I don't know if Director Reed wants to chime in if he remembers, but it was not a lot of money when we looked at the number of permits and the associated costs. So
Yeah, I can't, I mean, if the page 4 of the note has the, you know, what the fee would bring in with the change, so it was not impactful.
Councilman Jones?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think Director Gutwald sort of did a little spoiler alert. I guess my question for you, I mean, we've had people testify on other bills and they were indicating that, you know, the number of permits being issued in Baltimore County was less than some of our surrounding jurisdictions. I was just wondering if you could speak to that.
So our numbers, well, the new residential development are slightly down compared to other jurisdictions. They're slightly down from other years, but it's I'm still trying to get a handle on the total number of units. Since we switched over to our new online system, I think we're missing multifamily, but yes, you are correct. The numbers are down from even previous years in Baltimore County, but when you compare to some of the larger jurisdictions in the state of Maryland, it's slightly less.
I guess the only other question I had for you was, isn't it true that, you know, when we start talking about some of these exemptions, some of the exemptions were that if a property were already vested prior to the implementation of the impact fee legislation, that they were exempt as well. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. That is a large number of them.
And a lot of these projects take, you know, many years to come to fruition. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. You still
Okay.
have things building out that were approved prior to 2020, and they're still building out. Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, any additional questions, comments, or thoughts for Mr. Gutwald? Mr. Gutwald, I have just a couple of questions, just so I can understand it. So, just kind of see if I summarize in my mind, the legislation, let me know if that's kind of what it intends to do. So, it takes our calculation on impact fees from 1.5% of the overall sales price to 6% of the square footage. Is that correct?
No, not 6%, $6 per square foot.
$6. I'm sorry, that's what I said. $6 per square foot. Thank you for that correction. And so, what would the difference in yield be towards Baltimore County for the change from 1.5% to $6 per square foot?
So I think we in our outline we kind of highlight. Are you talking total or per type of unit?
Just total, let's say, annual yield to
So
Baltimore
yeah,
County.
it would go from you know, about $300,000 to $400,000 to about 1.5 million.
Okay, that's exactly what I read when I thought. I just wanted to ensure that I understood it correctly, because sometimes legislation can be complicated. And this puts us in line with other jurisdictions around the state.
Yes, sir.
So I applaud the administration for bringing this forward. I think it's something that, you know, we need to be in line with other jurisdictions. Question is, in 2019, this council approved impact fees that left significant amount of, I don't want to say loopholes, but areas where you could kind of be exempt from the impact fees. And there are pretty significant gaps. And so, does this legislation address those gaps?
No, sir. We didn't talk about the exemptions, the number of different exemptions that were applied to the impact fee. We're just dealing with basically the process. Because like I said, it's been very difficult to identify and collect the fee. So we didn't deal with the you're calling them gaps, but it was the number of exemptions as who was not applicable to. So
I just I'm wondering out loud if at some point in the near future, do we need to implement or address some impact fee reform so that there aren't gaps in exemptions. And so I think last year, our total yield of impact fees was 0. And so to me, that means our impact fee legislation from 2019 had very little impact towards addressing infrastructure needs in Baltimore County resulting in new construction. So I'm just being rhetorical, so you don't have to answer that, Mr. Gutwald, but I'm just wondering out loud if that's something the council needs to address in the near future. So thank you, Mr. Gutwald.
Thank
Any
you.
additional questions, comments for Mr. Gutwald? Okay. Then let's move in where, again, we are in bills that are in our first consideration, and I think that concludes 4419, and we're moving to 4524. I got caught up in 2019. So our next bill is
Mr. Chairman, apparently Mr. Rose was able to get on. Is that right? Still right, Ms. Belcastro, or?
That is correct. It looks like he is on by phone now, and I think if I elevate him, he should be able to speak.
excellent. Let's go to Mr. Rose.
So he would be testifying on the previous bill 44.
Mr. Rose, you are on as a panelist.
You'll need to unmute yourself, Mr. Rose. There you go.
Mr. Rose? I'll try one more time. Mr. Rose, are you there? Well, apparently he's still not there.
May have a bad cell.
Okay, Ms. Belcastro, do we have any speakers for 4524?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Councilman Cash.
Yeah, with the impact fees, I know that high schools are running 160, 200 million. And it seems to, well, the 1.1 million that is projected to be raised from the impact fee seems almost, well, not a drop in the bucket, but it certainly doesn't come close to even building or significantly helping building even an elementary school. What I don't know if the audit office would know or anyone else what the impact fees collected in other jurisdictions, what percent of the cost of the capital projects that are the result of construction of new homes, what percent of that cost is being covered by the impact fees? I assume it's extremely low, or I don't know. Lauren, any idea? Or
that would be something I would have to look at into. I do not know off the top of my head.
I mean, Chris, I think that basically the county a long time ago missed the boat because we've gone through so much in the way of development over the years and have not collected this fee. So it just to me doesn't appear to be very impactful. I'm just making a comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cash. Ms. Belcastro, are we caught up with David Rose?
Still have not been able to get him.
Why don't we move on to Bill 4624, and if Mr. Rose appears, we'll try to get him on.
Okay,
So 4624 is a zoning bill, and it's Mr. Marks.
Thank you very much. Bill 4624 amends the community building use in the BL zone. Currently, a community building or other structure or land use devoted to civic, social, recreational, and educational activities is permitted by right BL zone. However, the current law prohibits the use of a community building as a catering hall and requires the community building to be located in a shopping center in the CCC district. Last, the community building must have a minimum gross floor area of 125,000 square feet. This bill makes the community building use more generally applicable in the BL zone. It eliminates the catering hall prohibition, the locational requirement, and the minimum size requirement. It also includes fraternal organizations in the list of types of activities that a community building may be devoted to.
Thank you, Councilman Marks. Do any of the members have any questions, comments, or thoughts to share with Councilman Marks? Okay, Ms. Alcastro, do we have any speakers on this item for first consideration?
yes, Mr. Chair, we had two registered speakers, David Riley and Nancy Goldring. Neither person are on the WebEx.
Okay,
But I did want to note that both of them are for the bill, David Riley and Nancy Goldring.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Young, I think, was first.
There was, I assume the speakers were in support of the bill, correct? Chris?
That is correct. They are in support, yes.
No worries. I just, David, I know we briefly talked about this, just sort of the impetus for where the bill came from and purpose. I know you sort of referenced that, but what was this is going to positively affect those businesses that would benefit from it. Just wanted to kind of get the context and background for the introduction.
The bill helps with a Veterans of Foreign Wars boast that wants to locate in the Bowleys Quarters area. Quite frankly, I think we're pretty stringent generally on fraternal organizations and where they can locate. And I think this is a very reasonable bill.
Makes sense. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We do have one more speaker who has
I think
registered.
Councilman Cash had a comment.
no, that's all right. Thank you.
Ms. Alcastro, you said we had one additional speaker?
Yes, we have one other registered speaker who is on, my apologies, looking down the list, and it is Reverend Henrietta Wiley.
Okay,
Reverend Wiley, you are on as a panelist.
Thank you very much. I do not speak for or against this particular resolution. I think that I have registered for the wrong hearing, and so I'm sorry to have taken up your time. My understanding was that we would be discussing Resolution 3124, and so I apologize for the miscommunication.
No worries, Reverend Wiley. Appreciate you peeking in with us for a little while.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Okay, any additional speakers for this bill, Ms. Belcastro?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then our
Chair, I have
next,
a question if I could.
yes, Councilman Hertel.
David, so this allows for catering hall in CB. Would that be a commercial, would this end up being something that we're not necessarily looking for in the CB zone, like a food processing center or something like that?
We can certainly tighten the requirements if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm just concerned because CB often is, and I can understand it in Bowleys Quarters. It's probably a building that's, on a bigger piece of property, but often CB inside the Beltway is literally right next to residential.
Right. We can certainly look at tightening this.
So yeah, maybe there's a way we can just make it a little more defined.
Mr. Chairman, can I interject just one moment?
Absolutely.
I think one thing to remember is the way the zoning regulations are generally, they are exclusive rather than inclusive, meaning if a use is not listed, it is not permitted. And so taking away it's the prohibition on a catering hall does not mean that a catering hall would be permitted. So that's just something to think about. In other words, taking that away would not all of a sudden open up the floodgates to say, oh, well, it's not there anymore, so we can have a catering hall. It's just expanding where this use can be. And then if they wanted to do a catering hall, they might actually need legislation to do that, a particular area or something like that. Again, just a suggested thought.
That's a good point.
Secretary,
Yes, sir.
could this be accomplished through a special exception?
No,
The catering part?
no, it could not. It is not listed, to my knowledge, as a special exception use. But I would have to check that. In other words, if there is, and it's not part of this bill, but if there is a separate provision in the zoning regulations in the BL zone that would allow a catering hall, then yes, then that would potentially be applicable. But it would have to be listed elsewhere for that to be allowed anywhere in the BL zone.
Now, what I was thinking of, if each time that you have a situation like this, whether it be a VFW hall, you'd have to put a bill in to do it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, not necessarily every time, but if the council as a policy wanted to expand the use of a community building or fraternal organization to be able to have a catering hall, and if it wasn't otherwise permitted, then yes, there would have to be just a bill to allow it. It wouldn't have to be a bill every single time.
So this bill, and I can't get the bill in front of me because I'm on my computer, but so the bill basically does not prohibit catering?
The bill does not permit catering. It doesn't say any, it takes out the specific prohibition on catering.
Also,
That was in the prior regulation currently.
so since it takes out the prohibition, I see what you're saying, but is there another way that this can be done so that legislation has to go in to give the VFW the ability to have catering, or would that open up Pandora's box?
I don't know what that would open up potentially, but we could look at if the councilman is receptive or any other council members to potentially adding language that would allow it on a limited basis, as you suggest. Unless, again, I'd have to check to see in the BL zone if catering hall is a use that is permitted, that is otherwise permitted in any other aspect of the zone, whether by right or by special exception.
And I'm simply trying to get rid of red tape for the VFW in this case. And Councilman Marks, I don't know if you have any comments on that.
And I didn't mean to open up a Pandora's box
Oh, that's
myself, but
No, I think it's a good kind of review of where the code is. And Mr. Boswick, if you don't mind giving us some ideas on that, that would be great.
Anything we can do to get rid of red tape is a good thing, if possible.
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
By the way, I misspoke. I was thinking this was CB. It's BL. So
It's BLR.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
BL.
disregard my comments earlier.
Right, and I misspoke too, but BLR, not BL.
BL, yeah. These are all good comments, and I think we have the same goals, so.
Okay, thanks, everyone. I think Mr. Rose is back on, my understanding. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. He is on as a panelist again. Let me unmute him. Mr. Rose, are you there?
I am. I apologize for my tardiness. My office assistant's mother died yesterday, and I'm finding out quickly who really runs this place. Um, so, yeah, I was here to talk about Bill 4424, if I got the number correct. It's the Employee Retirement System bill, and I've had a little communication with the county administration, deputy administrative officer. I can't speak for or against the bill because on page 3, I think it's paragraphs 5 and 6, it talks about employee pension contribution increases, and we do not have any mention of employee contribution increases in the tentative agreement, and there has been no recollection of employee contribution increases in that final 1-year deal. So in my communications with the administration this morning, I was informed that there would be several amendments on the bill. I haven't seen them yet, but I don't know if it was, I guess, an error on what group should have the pension increases or not. But as written, I would have to speak against the bill until I see the amendments and we get it corrected. And if anyone has any amendments, I'd love to see them.
Mr. Reed,
Mr. Chair. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mr. Rose, to your point, we will be amending this bill. Again, excuse me. This bill will have multiple amendments, not necessarily in the FOP 4 section, but this will be removed. We are kind of waiting for a couple other things to finalize, and then we'll send the list of amendments over. Again, we have another reading on this before the vote, and we'll be working on that. But this section will be removed that you reference.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, I apologize for my tardiness.
No worries, Mr. Rose. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks. You too. Okay, now we're going to move on to Bill 4724, and this is a bill that I'm sponsoring. And the bill, as many of my colleagues may recall, we passed some legislation to set up a work group to review council structure to see if what the current membership is, what it should be like in the future. And that group, and I want to applaud that group because they went above and beyond. That work group, they had more meetings, and that was mandated in the legislation. They were east side, west side. They handled some complex issues, and they came up with a report that's that I think is easy to understand. So I've introduced legislation to implement some of the recommendations of the work group. And basically it would put on the November ballot an issue that would increase the current makeup of Baltimore County Council from 7 members to 9 members, adding 2 additional members. And I want to say to my colleagues to understand this is not a reflection on the skill set or performance of any of the members. This is a very thoughtful council. The bill is being put forward more so on the idea of creating more opportunities on the county council so that the county council has represents a reflection of the demographics of Baltimore County. And so this creates additional opportunity. And so I will just stop there. I think each of the members and some of the stakeholders have read through the work group recommendations. And so I will stop there. Let me just ask Mr. Bostwick if there's anything you would like to add to my comments.
No, Mr. Chairman. The bill is pretty self-explanatory, and I think the note in the auditor's package does a good job of kind of providing a roadmap for how we got here and then what the bill does. But you have explained it, so thank you.
Okay, any of the members have any questions, comments, or thoughts to share? Okay, then why don't we go right to the speakers? Ms. Alcastro, could you call for a speaker, please?
Certainly. Our first speaker is Tom Glancy. Mr. Glancy, you are on as a panelist. You may begin your testimony.
Thank you. Although 9 districts would certainly be better than 7, this is clearly a half measure. Baltimore, I'm sorry, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. Baltimore County voters deserve an opportunity to vote on expanding the county council to 11 seats, not just 9. As matters now stand, Baltimore County is an outlier in terms of district size, and it would remain so even if we add 2 new districts. To understand why that is so, I urge each of you to review once more tables 1, 4, and 8 of the work group's report, which compares Baltimore County to similar jurisdictions within and without Maryland. Table 1 compares Baltimore County districts to our so-called Big 8 neighbors, and Table 4 extends the comparison to those jurisdictions across the country that the work group found to be most similar to Baltimore County in terms of population, geography, and government size. In both instances, Baltimore County's current district population of about 122,000 residents leaves its first or second in size among its peers, and even with 9 districts of 95,000 residents each, we would remain near the top. It is only with expansion to 11 districts that we finally achieve rough parity with the jurisdictions most similar to us. And make no mistake, we can readily afford to create 4 more districts. Table 8 of the report demonstrates that Baltimore County devotes a lower percentage of its general fund to county council operations than do any of its Big 8 neighbors other than Frederick County, and that even with expansion to 9 districts, we would remain near the bottom of the Big 8 in terms of proportional spending. Only expansion to 11 districts brings Baltimore County into the mainstream. Now, if all those similarly situated jurisdictions have found the political will to create and maintain manageably sized districts, Baltimore County can clearly do so as well. And finally, when you eventually cast your vote, I do hope you'll remember that the question before you is not so much whether you personally favor expansion, but whether Baltimore County voters should have a say through the referendum process in deciding the level of representation that they want and deserve. Our voters are competent to weigh the benefits of expansion against its associated costs. It is their tax dollars that would be spent to accomplish expansion after all. However, if the council decides to shut the voters out of the process, it needs to first explain why it believes that Baltimore County cannot afford or that its citizens do not deserve the same levels of access, accountability, and representation as are enjoyed by the citizens of Baltimore City, Anne Arundel, Frederick, Harford, and Howard counties, not to mention the vast majority of similar districts across the country that have managed to keep their district sizes manageable. Baltimore County deserves no less. Thank you for this opportunity to share my views on this important issue.
Thank you, Mr. Glancy. Do any members have any questions, comments, or thoughts to share, Mr. Glancy? Okay, Ms. Alcastro, next speaker.
Thanks for speaking.
Our next speaker is Linda Dorsey Walker.
Okay, Ms. Dorsey Walker.
Good afternoon, County Council Chair Patoka and members of Baltimore County Council. As you're aware, I'm Linda Dorsey Walker, Chair of 4 More for Baltimore County, also known as Vote 4 More. I come before you today to testify against Bill 47-24 as currently proposed. As you know, Vote for More is a ballot committee established to expand the Baltimore County Council from its current 7-member districts to a composition of 11 districts. An 11-district council is inherently more representative than 7 or even a 9-district council, because there is presently no way that you can draw 11 districts in Baltimore County in segments of 75,000 person districts without coming up with a minimum of 4 predominantly minority districts. One of those districts would be largely Latino. Another district would be largely Asian, specifically South Asian. 2 of the districts would be largely African American. And based upon current growth and demographics, a 5th majority minority district would likely exist within the next 6 years or by the 2030 election cycle. That scenario clearly frightens some of you and is found distasteful by many of the current council members that seem to be unwilling to accept that Baltimore County is already half minority and half non-minority. So to suggest that after 70 years and 23 years after I first asked for 2 more districts in 2001, when we needed it at that time, that you're asking us to be satisfied with 2 predominantly African-American districts and no other districts for all the other groups, that's outrageous and unacceptable to all, the majority of citizens of Baltimore County. This bill is a last-ditch attempt, in my opinion, by the incumbents, made up of 6 white males and 1 African-American male, to postpone the inevitable. We can't keep pushing back the future. I come before you to testify against this bill because it eliminates even the pathway for achieving the 11 district format that was recommended by your own structure work group. They suggested 9 be achieved now with 4 more districts, a total of additional 4 more districts going up to 11 as soon as we hit a population of 900,000. That's at least within the foreseeable future, but you went against your own work group's recommendation. More important, it is not acceptable to ask the African Americans not notice what's really going on. The proposal suggested there would be 2 predominantly African American districts mathematically on paper perhaps, but the reality is, as drawn, Mr. Patoka, according to my calculation and looking at where the voting precincts are, your representation that includes a pink district includes 1 particular voting precinct, let's call it, say, 04-013, that will likely make it totally impossible that a second African American will be elected, and you and I both know the reasons why and who it might advantage. We won't go any further into that at this time. 4 more for Baltimore County. A citizen-generated initiative is the only scenario remaining that creates a level playing field that allows the citizens, as Mr. Glassy just said, to make a decision on their own of how many districts there should be in Baltimore County. It's unthinkable that any legislative body, whether it be at the local, state, or federal level, would draw its own redistricting map. From the start, 4 more, when asked, do you have a map? We have from the beginning said, and through now, said, no, we don't have a map. That's going to be decided after December 5th, when a 13-month-long process will begin that will include the public and allow for the first time a map to be drawn, a fair map from scratch. We need to have representation for the new Americans, LGBT community, African Americans, other minority groups, women who make up 53% of our county, young people who are under the age of 35. All these folks have asked for and demand a seat around the decision table. This proposal does not fix it. In fact, you've tightened how difficult it will be to change from the 9 to 11. We have got to have an open process, an honest process that allows the citizens, not the incumbents, to make that decision on their own. I thank you for letting me have this opportunity to speak again, and I ask you to please respect that nearly 10,000, we're not quite there yet, but we're getting closer, citizens have said that it should not be your right to decide. They have said by the thousands, it should be the citizens, the voters of Baltimore County, not the incumbents' right to decide what the future of Baltimore County shall be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dorsey Walker. Did any of the members have any questions, comments, or thoughts to share with Ms. Dorsey Walker?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Pat.
Yeah, Ms. Dorsey Walker, what is the December 5th date? Did you, or the 8th, what was it? And what is the significance of it?
I'm glad you asked that question, Councilman. The state law says that 30 days exactly after the November 5th election, the county council must announce that it is now law, and they will begin what will be up to 13 months. It will be including all of December, all the way through January of 2026. That's the filing period, comes the third week in January of 2026. So you would have that lengthy period to draw from scratch. And by the way, Councilman Koch, I want you to know that we have many Republicans, independents, and others who have signed this. Folks up in Glendon have said, please give us an opportunity for once to be separated from both Pikesville and Randallstown, because we see our interests as being very different from theirs. And so I have said, I'm for everybody, regardless of their party affiliation, to have that opportunity. Let the voters decide. And the folks over in Perry Hall have said the same thing. We want the opportunity to decide for ourselves. So that's what we've been working hard at trying to achieve for people, regardless of their party affiliation, race, gender, and so forth.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Any additional questions, Ms. Dorsey Walker, or comments? I just have one, actually two. So Ms. Dorsey Walker,
yes,
I'm just going to share a comment with you based on what I heard in your testimony. I can speak for myself, and I've ventured to actually speak for my colleagues, but they can certainly speak for themselves. When you mentioned that we were frightened, I think that's very subjective. I know that I'm not frightened. I don't think any of my colleagues are frightened. I think it's an exaggeration and something that is really, I just don't even understand how you see that. Second, you didn't have to respond to that. It's just a very subjective description. Secondly, when you said that you and I both know why one precinct is in or out, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I just wonder, like, how you and I both know, and I don't know what the heck you're talking about. So
then I would suggest, Councilman, that as part of your proposal, that you include that particular voting precinct in the yellow section of what is proposed. And then I will think that this is a process that can be fair to African Americans in giving them not just on paper, but a realistic chance.
You just tell us what precinct you're talking about.
04-013. I won't go any further.
Okay, but apparently you know what I'm thinking. So good on you. Okay, Ms. Belcastro, next speaker.
Our next speaker is Nehemiah Bester.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to say first, I completely agree with what Linda and Tom have said. My name is Nehemiah Bester, and I'm speaking to you all today as a very concerned resident of Baltimore County from District 4. Black residents make up 30% of Baltimore County, and together with other people of color, we make up nearly half of the county's total population. And yet, we have 6 council members who are white and only 1 who is Black. In what world is this fair representation? Councilman Jones' seat does not accurately depict our county's nearly 900,000 residents. And with all due respect, Councilmember Jones, you do not need 65% of the Black population in District 4 to win an election. We need more seats on the council, and we need more diverse representation. Packing Black voters into a single majority district dilutes their power and silences their voices. I should know a thing or two about this because I've actually done voting rights work throughout several Maryland counties, including Caroline County, Wacomico, and right here in Baltimore County. In 2021, a federal judge ruled that this county's redistricting plan violated the Federal Voting Rights Act. Even after the ruling, you all did the bare minimum and developed a plan that kept 6 out of the 7 council districts majority white. In 2022, every single Black candidate who ran for these majority white districts lost their elections, with only Councilman Jones maintaining his seat because, of course, Black voters are severely packed into District 4. Additionally, Councilman Patoka had tied passage of this bill 47-24 to a map and voting precincts he drew up himself. This map shows where he has decided where the new 9 council seat district lines should be, but without benefit from public input, comment, or a redistricting committee, which is a clear violation and abuse of his power. This is wrong. And then not only that, if you look around, there are also no women on this council. How is it that this nearly all white and certainly all male dominated council represents one of the most diverse counties in Maryland? It does not. If District 4 were to be redistributed, there will be much more diversity in the nearby districts, and that would provide greater political opportunities for all the residents there. For example, District 2 could be majority Black, but it's not because of how the map is split. The current drafting of this map is problematic and simply not representative of the communities of Baltimore County. As a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, the fraternity whose members include the likes of Thurgood Marshall, Martin Luther King Jr., and W.E.B. Du Bois, and an organization that has a long history of fighting for equal voter rights, we have this saying: a voteless people is a hopeless people. This council, as currently constructed, is taking away the hopes of hundreds of thousands of Baltimore County residents and effectively silencing them. Please do the right thing. And while I appreciate the concern today to expand to 9 council seats, 2 more seats are not enough to fully represent Baltimore County. We need 11, as community members have requested for years. With the previous work, 7 seats should have created 2 majority Black districts, but that was watered down to 1 majority Black district. With 9, we should be moving towards 3 majority Black districts, but with 11, it should be 4, which would significantly increase the economic and political representation of our beloved county. We deserve decency, we deserve fairness, and like other community members have been echoing for years and have said today, I urge you to increase the number of seats on this county council and give hope back to the residents that you represent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Besser? Okay, hearing none, Ms. Alcott, the next speaker.
Our next speaker is Bridge Dumais.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you all hear me?
Hello, Mr. May, we can hear you.
Hi, yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Baltimore County Council. My name is Bridge Dumais. I'm a homeowner in Councilman Catch's district, and I'm the political coordinator of 1199 SEIU United Healthcare Workers East. 1199 is the largest local union in the United States, representing over 2,000 members at hospitals and long-term care facilities across Baltimore County. I strongly encourage you to issue a favorable report on Bill 4724, which would create a referendum allowing voters to decide to increase the size of the Baltimore County Council, plus an amendment that I will propose later in my testimony. I support expanding the size of the council through a referendum and would vote yes on the ballot measure that it creates for several reasons. 1, increasing the size of the council will enable the gender and racial demographics of our council to better reflect the demographics of our county. This is a best practice for a truly representative government. 2, having more council members will maintain and improve constituent services by creating a smaller ratio between residents and their elected officials. 3, we recognize and appreciate the hard work done by current Baltimore County Council members. However, this bill does clarify that council members are to be considered full-time employees. County residents need full-time representation. Far too many people are working 2 to 3 jobs just to get by because wages have stagnated while the cost of living continues to increase. The county's hospitals and long-term care facilities are facing a dire short staffing crisis that harms patients and workers. We need our council working full-time to address the root causes of these crises through legislation. Lastly, the bill simply creates a ballot question. Expanding the size of the council is not a partisan issue, it is a democracy issue. And there is nothing more democratic than voters deciding for ourselves how and by whom we should be represented. This issue has already been heavily debated by elected officials, so now it's time to let the voters choose the outcome. And I deeply thank Linda Dorsey Walker for her work and her powerful testimony. So I am on the fly proposing an amendment to request the bill be amended to add 4 additional seats rather than just 2 as currently written. Please vote yes on this bill to create a referendum for an 11-seat county council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dumais. Any questions, comments, or thoughts for Ms. Dumais? Okay, Ms. Alcastro, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Keith Dorsey. Mr. Dorsey?
Oh, okay. Let me. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Good afternoon, members of the County Council. For those who don't know, my name is Keith Dorsey. I had the privilege of serving on the council's recent council structure work group. However, I must speak in opposition to Bill 4724 as is currently proposed. First, the bill proposes to only increase council size to 9 members. Plurality of the work group supported an increase to 11 members because there is ample data that show that an increase of 4 districts would be needed to make Baltimore County comparable to the average size of large counties across the nation. Moreover, at 11 council members, the opportunity for greater diversity on the council increases significantly. The work group agreed to a compromise at 9 members with an automatic trigger to 11 members as population grows. If this council decides to drop the trigger provision, then it would make more sense to go with 11 district members, level consistent with almost all of the public input the work group received. Secondly, I oppose the bill in its current format because it incorporates a sample map that would work actually in opposition to the objectives of increasing diversity on the council. In fact, I'm afraid that it could cause a proposed charter amendment to fail at the ballot. According to Exhibit B, the sample map would create a second majority African American district, but only at the expense of the existing African American district. The current district is 72% African American. The chart displayed in Exhibit B would dilute the current district down to only 57%. Baltimore County may end up with no African American representative instead of 2. Yet this is not a necessary element to go in order to go with 9 districts. I'll be submitting with my written testimony an alternate map and chart that would support 2 predominantly African American districts, one at 71% and the other at 55%. Moreover, the second district would have a total of 69% minority population. Also, as compared to the current proposal, it would be a lower 1.7% deviation from the ideal district size of 95,186. In addition, it does so in recognition of many traditional community groupings that citizens would appreciate. I thank you for the opportunity to speak about Bill 4724, and I thank you, Councilman Patoka, for being willing to submit any legislation. I would gladly change my opposition to support if the council would make the various changes I have identified. If interested, after you receive the map and chart, I'd be glad to share any details about my proposed map. As said earlier, we all know that no map is takes place until the redistricting committee is formed. But I still, just to help get you a better perspective on this, I'll share it with you. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Any of the members have any questions, comments, or thoughts to share with Mr. Dorsey? Okay, hearing none. Mrs. Alcastro, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Joe Goodman.
Okay. Good.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry. My computer buffered, as David would know from many times sitting in on the TCA meetings. My name is Joe Goodman. I'm a resident of Campus Hills. I've been a longtime treasurer for 6 years for Towson Communities Alliance. I've served as a board member of TCA alongside Councilman Mike Ertel for years, who was even back then a staunch supporter of expanding to 9 members, and has done so since I've known him. Just to be brief, my wife Susan and I agree with expanding the council to 9. And I know you'll have some work to do as far as redistricting and such, but we're all in support of the expansion to 9 members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. Do any of the members have any questions, comments, or thoughts to share with Mr. Goodman? Okay, hearing none. Mrs. Alcastro, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Albert Barnes.
Okay, Mr. Barnes.
I seem to be unable to unmute him. Oh, wait a minute. There he is. Mr. Barnes?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Barnes.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good
I'm
afternoon.
Albert Barnes, and I'm a resident of Kings Park. Councilman Jones is my councilman. My comments are in line with Mr. Clancy, Keith Dorsey, Linda Walker Dorsey, and the others that oppose the 47-24 as is written. I've been an activist working in the Liberty Road corridor for improvements. And I strongly feel that we need more representation, and that 11 would be much more better than 9. So I worked on Vote for More committee to try to acquire these 10,000 signatures. And from talking to the residents, they want, I think they want that choice themselves. I won't go into repeat the other things that have already been said. Thank you very much for being allowed to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Do any members have any questions, comments, or thoughts to share with Mr. Barnes? Okay, hearing none. Mrs. Alcastro, next speaker, please.
Mr. Barnes was the last speaker for this bill.
Okay. Okay, is that it for today's agenda? Items for first consideration? I believe it is. Okay.
Yep, that's everything, Mr. Chairman. Those 4 bills that were introduced last Monday.
Okay. Well, I know that the council has a busy day today. We've got our 6th district
CZMP hearing. I think Chairman Patoka froze.
I think we just lost him momentarily.
We do, yes, Mr. Ertel is correct. We do have Mr. Ertel's 6th District CZMP hearing this evening in person at 6 p.m. In the County Council chamber. And everyone who may be watching either online, online, is certainly invited to attend if they would like to speak on any issue. This is also an in-person meeting, just to clarify.
Council chambers, right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Catch.
I believe the chair is totally off of the WebEx now.
Okay.
Mr. Marks, would you like to potentially adjourn the meeting?
I don't think
To adjourn.
Councilman Young is our process councilman, so he could do it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.
Excellent. Thank you, folks.